Greetings, radiant particles. We wish to communicate in this now on the nature of these messages, this message. For there is only one message. As your perception of reality crosses certain resonant boundaries, aspects of the message become visible to the conduit you see before you. For the message is infinitely dimensional, and various dimensions of it become visible when the resonant state of your perceived reality matches that message. The message has been passed by secure post, as you would say, from the source. It has been encapsulated, codified, in a crystalline form that none of the higher dimensions have been able to unlock. For the key only exists in your realm. The key only becomes apparent when the journey of the message is completed, when it reaches its destination. The message itself has become embodied in the one you see before you. He is the message incarnate. There are other conduits and channels working with closer entities and telepathic communications. Some of them have experienced being interfered with by some darker forces. With this message, that possibility does not exist. For only the one with the key can read the message. There can be no interference. It is the securest coded message there is. The weakest link in this channel is the conduit before you. For he must translate the message from its many-dimensional form into a sequence of words. And to do this it must relate to his psyche, his experience and understanding. But the message itself is pure. And ultimately, the only message you need to hear is that the source of all is the one void. And that the paradox that creates is the source of all else. For if there is the void, then there is one. And the void and the one are not the same, and yet the void as one is one. Your experience of consciousness is neither the void nor the one, and yet it is both the void and the one. It is the crux, the fulcrum of paradox. Which you see presented in your golden mean, which is the paradox between arithmetic progression and geometric progression. Arithmetic progression is constant, unchanging, what you would perceive as death. Geometric progression is ever increasing, which you would see as destruction. This has a simile in your Planck constant and in the nature of your cellular mechanisms. You understand that there is the quantum world, where everything exists simultaneously, and there is the collapsed singular particulate world of your experience. The quantum world is the world of all possibilities, all that could be possible, all infinite possibilities. And between that world and the particulate world of your experience is a paradox that is neither the one nor the other, and yet is both at the same time. And your scientists have seen that your cellular mechanisms work at this precise level, on the boundary of the quantum field, and on the other side, the boundary of the particulate field, being neither one nor the other. This is represented as your Planck constant, which is an expression of space and time. And all the mechanisms of your cells work on this boundary. And in all your cellular growth of your plants and your animals, this is expressed as the golden mean and the Fibonacci series. We have already shown this conduit, that the golden mean itself is the 0 point, the one number. That is known in your mathematics as irrational. There are many irrational numbers, and it might be said that the expansion of the sequence of these numbers appears random. And yet your mathematicians now are able to define degrees of randomness, that there are some numbers that are more random than others. And they have known now that the golden mean, labelled phi, is the most random number there is. There can be no more randomness. And beginning with the void and one, which together make one, we have the beginning of an additive series, that the void and the one are two, and the one and the two are three, and the one and the three are four. And we have the multiplicative series, that the void and the one are one, and the one and the one are two, and the one and the one and the two are four, and the one and the one and the two and the four are eight. This you would know as 2 to the power of x. 1, 2, 4, 8, 16. But the median boundary, the average between the two progressions, is seen in your Fibonacci series. 1 plus 1 is 2. 1 plus 2 is 3. 2 plus 3 is 5. 3 plus 5 is 8. And the ratio of this sequence equates to the golden mean. So the golden mean is a 0 point for one number. The Fibonacci series is the linear expression of this number. Your Pascal's triangle is the planar expression of this number. And we have given the conduit the formula for the continued dimensional expansion to take Pascal's triangle into 3 dimensions, and 4, and as many as you wish. For there is only one formula that defines all of it. And that balance, that ratio, exists at the most fundamental logical level. No being, no entity, no matter how great you define them to be, could be without this ratio existing. It requires no great consciousness to put it there. No one imposed it upon your reality, for your reality is only an expression of it. So it is not a surprise that you see it in the growth structure of your plants, and that your scientists have found that the least stress on a growth structure is found at the golden mean proportions and angles and ratios. It is no surprise that your definition of beauty reaches its culmination in the golden mean. It is no surprise that your planets dance in resonance around your sun in golden mean ratios. It is no surprise that your cells work at this golden mean proportion. If they work below this level, they die. If they work above this level, you have cancer. If they work at the level of the golden mean, symbolized as the Planck constant, you have health and vitality. Well, the golden mean is the paradox of not being one nor the other, yet being both at the same time. And this is the fallacy of the logic proposed by Aristotle, including the law of the excluded middle. But if A equals B and B equals C, then A equals C. So according to Aristotle, the B can be removed. But if you see the A as the article, as yourself or any other object, and the B as the boundary of that object, the boundary cannot be separated from the article. The boundary defines the article. And yet the boundary of the article is also the boundary of the context with that article. And also is a part of that context. So the boundary defines the article, and the boundary defines the context. And yet the boundary is neither the one nor the other, while being both at the same time. And ultimately it is that boundary that is the source of your consciousness. It is that paradox of your consciousness, neither being nor not being, yet being and not being at the same time. It is that creates the magic. For all is an expression of that paradox. All reality is consciousness, expressed in manifold forms. A conduit becomes lost in the beauty of the vision. He sees how this wonderful reality permeates through all levels, through all existence, with such simplicity, such endurance, such completeness. For there is nothing else. And on that boundary, the ultimate balance, the ultimate harmony is where love is. For love only exists where there is harmony. Love is the expression of harmony. And the more harmonious your lives become, the more love you experience. But since there is always uniqueness, there is always a slight resonance around this balance point of love, resonating on one side or the other. When you resonate away from love, you experience darkness of various forms. But the more you attune your resonance to the singularity that is the one void, the more love you will experience. There are many in your realm understanding love, following its path towards the one void. But there is the other path of first locating the one void, attuning to that, holding on to that as the axle, the pivot of all that is. And when that is known, love blossoms forth automatically. And in love and harmony, there is joy and laughter. So in love, joy and laughter, and deep, deep respect, for the great works that you do, O radiant particles. We bid you greetings.